Okay, hello and welcome back to Nostos Strength and Conditioning, the home of the Nostos S&C podcast. I'm always going to start this with a big thank you to everyone who is listening and watching these podcasts, giving me feedback, sending me messages. It is much appreciated. Any feedback you can give me, any questions you want answered, any topics you want covered, or anyone you want to see on this podcast, or if anyone wants to get involved, please reach out. And as I say, we can make that happen. But in the meantime, just like, share, comment. Every little action helps and is much appreciated. I'll be amiss not to mention, to start on this somber tone, but the world was rocked very recently by the sudden and tragic passing of an NBA great, Kobe Bryant, who was involved in a fatal helicopter crash with his daughter Gianna, her teammate Alyssa Altabelli, and her father John, her mother Kerry, also her friend Peyton, and her mother Sarah Chester. There was an assistant coach on board, Christina Mauser, and the pilot Ara Zobayan, all leaving behind devastated families and friends. And I know this has hit a lot of people, including myself. And I hope that from this tragedy, we can all only take from it just to try and learn to live with a little bit less stress every day, to love a little bit deeper, and above all, to just take nothing for granted, because tomorrow isn't promised to anyone. So thoughts are with everyone affected by that horrific accident, and what a horrific accident it was. So moving on to today. And we're switching directions, because next to me, I have a man I'm meeting for the very first time through a friend. We've come in contact. He showed some interest in coming on, which is much appreciated. And I couldn't be happier in welcoming Mr. Iss Kurdi.
Thanks very much for having me.
Welcome, sir.
Cheers.
It's good to see you.
I appreciate that.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, it's fight week.
It's fight week.
Yeah,
how are you feeling? That's probably
I'm
the
good.
first.
I'm 2 kilos off fight weight, sitting nicely.
Wicked.
So yeah, it's just starting to taper down now, and then looking forward to weighing in Friday and putting on a performance on Saturday.
Ready to go?
Yeah, ready to go. Yeah,
Feeling
really
strong?
excited. Yeah, to get 2020 underway.
Yes. So for those who don't know, you are a mixed martial artist.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
You compete in MMA.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing that for?
So
Total.
in total, I had my first amateur fight back in 2013.
Okay.
So
about 7
yeah,
years.
7 years. Yeah, I had 6 amateur fights over a long period of time.
Okay.
It took me a long time to get through those 6 amateur fights, and then started my professional career only last year, actually.
Wow.
So I had 4 fights last year, so I was pretty much living in fight camp all year. So
And how's that going? So let's say your amateur career,
yeah,
your wins and losses.
yeah. So I finished my amateur career with 4 wins, 2 losses. Yeah, it was. I had all of them were at welterweight except for one, actually. Fought one at 84 middleweight. Took that fight on 2 weeks' notice. So there was no weight cutting for that, which was good.
Nice.
Yeah, finished the amateur career 4-2, and then just thought, being 35 years old, I needed to start that pro career. You know, got some big goals in the sport, and
Sure.
yeah, I needed to sort of get that pro career underway and get as many fights under my belt as possible on my debut. Yeah.
Sure. So we're coming up to your 5th pro
Fifth-
fight.
fifth
So you've
pro
had
fight.
4 currently.
Yeah.
So your record currently
Yeah.
sits at
2-2 at the
2 and
moment.
2. Okay.
Realistically, I personally think it should have been 3-1. But the second pro fight, unfortunately, I got an injury during the fight, so the ref had to stop it. So that unfortunately goes down as a TKO loss.
I was told about this yesterday.
Yeah, he was literally seconds away from tapping, or the ref was going to stop it. And yeah, my hamstring, I got a tear in my hamstring just during a scramble on the floor. So yeah, was unable to walk, stand, so the ref just had to stop it. So safety is obviously paramount for fighters. So yeah, but no, I came back, bounced back with 2 wins. So I was really happy to finish 2019 with 2 good wins.
So how long did that put you out for, the tearing hamstring? So
I wasn't actually able to train properly for about 6 weeks, like hard training. I went back and did some very light mobility stuff. It was a grade 2 tear, so it wasn't sort of like your big major tear, but it still prevented me from
surgery or
no, it didn't require any
No?
surgery. No,
Okay.
it was
Just
literally
rest
just a
and-
lot of rest, frustration not being able to, to get the sort of stand up striking as I wanted it to, and obviously the jiu-jitsu I had to be careful not to put any strain on it. So yeah, it was just very, very light training for like 6 weeks.
Sure.
And then was able to bounce back, and so that happened in the May, and then I didn't fight again till the end of August. So that was great. So that gave me a long time to recover.
Kind of nice recovery, but I suppose the thought of so close to a win, snatched from you,
it was frustrating.
You couldn't control.
But,
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't just jump into the octagon.
No.
Where do you train?
So I actually train out of 2 clubs, represent both. I do my striking and my sort of MMA as a whole at a Backstreet Dojo, which is located in Hamworth. That's under my head coach, Tony Newman. He's my head striking coach. I've also got Joe Hughes as my strength and conditioning, and another striking coach, and all the guys there.
Nice.
They're sort of my sparring partners in the sort of stand-up aspect of it. So obviously big shout out to them. And then I actually do my jiu-jitsu out of Carson Gracie in Hammersmith. I'm a purple belt under Simon Hayes. I train with 2 very well-established grapplers, one being Thomas Magnitis and another one being Freddie Vosgroen, who's black belt, competed in the World Championships Jiu-Jitsu.
Wow.
And
Nice.
been on big shows like Polaris, etc. So I know I'm in safe hands in both. So yeah, obviously big shout out to all my training partners at Backstreet Dojo and Carson Gracie, but I represent both of them when it comes to stepping in the cage.
Sure, and I think that's key, because obviously it's just you in there in the cage, but I guess the process of getting you to that position requires
there's so many people that
a lot of people.
I mean, everything from your training partners, your sort of head coaches, nutrition, you've got your home life, your family. Luckily for me, my wife, she's been with me from day one. She's a massive supporter of it. I'm not allowed to watch a UFC event without her now, which is good. It's always good. Shout out to Nikki. Yeah, she's been every fight. So yeah, she absolutely loves it. So it's good to have that home support. She sort of understands the sacrifices I have to make during a fight camp. That sort of 7 weeks is, it's when I'm not working, and I've got the evenings free. I have to be at training. Before I do a late shift, for example, I have to be at training. In between night shifts, it is everything from your sort of technical stuff, your strength stuff, your nutrition, just that sort of support network from family and friends. Really, they all sort of see my passion for the sport and they know what goals I've got. So yeah, It's just nice to have that sort of network of support.
That support will be key,
Yeah.
I would imagine. So you're fighting this Saturday
Yeah.
on Fusion 32
Yeah.
is the show.
Yeah.
So Saturday the 8th of Feb.
That's correct.
Being your 5th pro fight.
Yeah.
Your 3rd appearance on Fusion.
Yeah. Need to get a win on that show now.
Yeah, I feel that's coming. You've been on here now, so
Yeah.
the luck's with
Yeah.
you. We're giving you that. So we've mentioned you fight at 77 kg.
Yeah.
So that's welterweight. That's 170 pounds. To attribute that to the bigger scale, the grander stage, for those that maybe don't know, welterweight 170 pounds is the weight you'll find Conor McGregor fighting.
McGregor, yeah.
So one day we could see Iss Kurdi and Conor McGregor square off in a UFC octagon.
Oh god, yeah, got a long way to go for that. But no, he looks good at 170.
Yeah, do you rate that? Because
I
obviously
think-
we've seen him at 145, we've
Yeah.
seen him at 155, now he's fighting at 170.
Yeah.
He's got knockouts at all 3
Yeah.
divisions.
I think he looked good at 170, to be honest. I think when you looked at him, I'm a massive fan of Cerrone as well.
Sure.
I was sad for Cerrone. I'm not going to lie, I was rooting for Cerrone. I've always been a Cowboy fan.
Sure.
But I think McGregor looked more up for that fight, looked better prepared. And I think he just rocked him with that, with those shoulder strikes. Then obviously
Sure.
the head kick that dropped him, and yeah.
Sure. And it was nice. I think everyone was surprised
Yeah.
by the outcome, by the finish. Leading up to the fight, Cowboy, famously known for his striking ability.
Yeah.
I think it would be fair to say he would have superior jiu-jitsu to
Yeah.
McGregor. So I think people in the know will have said they'd like to see Cowboy go in there, take it to the floor, to give himself the best chance
Mhm.
of getting the win. But he came out and said he wasn't going to do that.
Yeah.
He wanted to keep it on the feet, which in the end was to his detriment. Would you have preferred to have seen Cowboy play to his strengths and go for the takedown and win?
I think
Or-
Cowboy's always been known to be a bit of a slow starter. Like, he's so
Sure.
durable, and when he gets to the later rounds, like the 4, he's done so many 5-round fights when he gets to like round 4 and 5, that's when Cowboy comes into his own. He's always been known to be a bit of a slow starter. And I think when McGregor came out with that big overhand that Cerrone evaded, I think that would have been a perfect opportunity for Cerrone to get that takedown.
I agree. I saw that.
And even if he wasn't going to submit him, just at least wear him down in that round, because we saw the McGregor against Khabib, when he takes him down, that having someone on top of you holding you down, that's a struggle, and that does take it out of you.
You'd know better than most. Yeah.
The grappling aspect of it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've got stand up. The stand up side of it is exhausting as well, but it's two different. You're using two different sort of energy systems there in the sense of when you're on top. We've got someone on top of you trying to get out and scramble. I think Cerrone would have come off better had he tried to take him down.
There's been a lot of debate after the fight. Would you say that? I mean, it's a 40-second KO. Do you lean towards Cerrone had a bad night, or McGregor was that good?
I think it's a bit of both, to be fair.
Probably
I think
a
it's
mixture of the two.
50-50 split, I'd say.
You sit on the fence, but I'm going to push you for an answer. If I had to say, did Cerrone have an off night, or was McGregor that good?
I'm going to go Cerrone had a bad night.
Okay.
I think had he landed one of his famous sort of head kicks, it would have been
a lot more
a lot
interesting,
different, or if he had evaded those shoulder strikes, and
I don't know exactly for sure. I've read up a lot, but I believe Cerrone hasn't been finished inside of maybe 3 rounds, something.
Yeah, he fought.
I mean, he's 30 UFC fights as well.
Yeah, I mean, he holds a record, obviously. He holds so many different
bonuses,
records. Yeah. He did get finished by Darren Till, obviously another Brett. I can't remember what round that was.
That might be second round.
So but he
first round, first minute was unprecedented.
Yeah, slow start.
Not something anyone would have expected from Cowboy. Shame for him. I also followed him. I really like him. I love his style. He's a family man.
Yeah.
He's clearly a nice guy.
Yeah. He just loves fighting. He just lives for fighting.
You have to applaud someone who's so willing
yeah.
to do that and put it all on the line. And that's what you guys do, and that is very much to be respected. So there are tickets available for this fight on Saturday?
Yeah, that's correct, yeah. So
where can they do that? Is there a website for that?
Yeah, they can buy it by the Fusion website. However, if they give me a follow on Instagram, which is Iss Kurdi MMA, and just send me a direct message, I will then be able to sort out your tickets for you. I do have tickets that are available. Cool. Yeah, and they're all tickets are great seats. So yeah,
cool. So they can come directly to you.
They can come directly to me. Yeah.
And you mentioned something a little more special about the proceeds of these tickets.
So obviously, at the sort of professional level I'm fighting at now, most of the sort of money I make from fights is through ticket commission. So depending on how many tickets I sell, obviously the more commission you make. I'm actually donating all of my ticket commission for this fight to Macmillan Cancer, mainly because I just know too many friends, family members, work colleagues that have been diagnosed with cancer in recent years, unfortunately passed away. Got a family member at the moment going through a battle at the moment, so a much tougher battle than myself. And yeah, I'm just going to donate. I'm just going to go to Macmillan Cancer and just donate all my ticket commission. So yeah, it's a really special sort of night for me in the sense of I want to raise as much as I can. So
sure.
Yeah,
I think
the
that's
more
very,
appreciate. Yeah, the more support is obviously the more we're going to raise. So all the support.
More support the better. That's very commendable. I'm pretty sure this day and age, unfortunately, we probably don't know almost anyone that's not affected by cancer in one way, shape or form, myself included. Yourself, as you say, best wishes to your family member. That. And yeah, guys, so check that out. If you where is the fight?
So the fight is at Epsom Downs Racecourse.
Okay.
So it's a great venue, very very nice venue. The setup there is incredible. Fusion's been going. Obviously, it's like their 30-second show. And yeah, a lot of guys that have fought on that show before have gone on to bigger platforms such as Bellator, the UFC. So yeah, it's a great show, great fighters, great talent, mix of amateur, professional, MMA and K1 action, all in a cage. Sure. So yeah, it's a great night. Yeah, great night.
A night of entertainment that maybe you might not have experienced. So why not look into that and give it a go? All money's going to a great cause. Even just ask the question. Get a few friends together. It's a different sort of night out. I've been to a few shows and it's a lot less of what you think it's going to be. and I think you'll learn a lot more than you think. It's not just barbarians in a cage. It's very, you're mixed martial artists. You are
exactly.
artists.
I think
it's very much disciplined. Combat, and it's generally very sportsmanlike.
Yeah, of course. All
very
fires at the end. Yeah.
And if you haven't experienced it, I can only push you guys to give that a shout. And if not now, why not? So go for that. So being fight week, so how is the training? Me as a strength and conditioning coach, I am gonna guess the hard stuff's done.
Yeah.
And we're now moving towards tapering off, ready to kind of explode.
Yeah. So I've got my
fight night. So where are we at?
So we're now, like I say, final week. So fight week now. I've got my final strength and conditioning this afternoon.
Nice.
So that will just be. So far in this fight camp, we have do like a 7-week strength and conditioning program, and by now I'm able to go 15 5-minute rounds with a minute rest in between, and that's all strength and conditioning specific. So today will just be a lot lighter. It will probably be, we'll still do rounds, but it'll be a lot lighter, like less intense, just a bit of a move around really. Sort of keep those sort of muscle fibers going, etc. Get the heart rate up, get the sweat on a bit.
Sure.
And then I've got one more MMA drilling session, one very light move around spar. When I say spar, I mean very light, to avoid any injuries, because we all know that injuries, cuts, etc. can stop a fighter from actually fight night. And then that'll be it. Thursday will just be resting, Friday's the weigh-in, and then Saturday showtime.
Big.
So
very big.
I don't leave myself a lot of weight to cut. I like to reach my fight weight within at least a day before weigh-in, so I can walk around at that, feel strong, feel healthy. None of this dehydration, none of this, none of these salt baths that I used to do in my amateur days when I used to cut like 3 or 4 kilos, and it used to kill me. I used to feel horrible, but now I just walk into a fight feeling, 100% strong and ready.
Sure. Are you in agreement? Some people, let's say nearer the top, Joe Rogan, for example, talks quite a lot about his. He disagrees with weight cutting. In terms of dehydration on the brain of fighters. To then go and start getting their head smashed is really not a great combination of situations you want to happen.
Fully agree with that. I don't see how a fighter can cut, like 8 to 10 kilos in fight week, and then be 100% come when they make that walk to the cage. I just don't know how you can be 100% after cutting that much weight. I think I cut sort of 5-6 kilos in between fights, and that's very easy because I do a kilo a week over 5-6 weeks.
More than doable.
But cutting that much weight is just I can't see how you're going to put on a performance. I know.
Sure, because you also need to be ready. You need to have your wits about you. You need to be focused, and the only way you can be that is to be rested, is to be hydrated. And if you, like you say, if you have done a severe weight cut, you're not going to be in any of those things, and you're going to be in more danger than you're already in. Which seems crazy, because at the end of the day, mixed martial arts, you don't play mixed martial arts. This is fighting.
4-ounce gloves.
It sounds a lot, but it's fighting to the death. I mean, you have to give up everything to go in there and do that. You are almost prepared for any outcome.
Exactly.
Which isn't like any other.
No, and a lot of fighters these days, they don't want to go to a decision. There's a lot of the pro fighters that when decisions go against them, that sort of saying, never leave it in the judge's hands.
Sure, yeah.
You're going in there to either submit, knockout, or have that ref stop it for
to break
for a
something,
TKO,
to separate something.
So you just don't stop until the ref jumps in, really.
Sure, and you hear that from a lot of fighters as well, and they'll say, "Oh, do you think the ref let it go on too long? Do you think he stopped it prematurely?" And there's always debate. Yeah, it was a little bit premature. Yes, it went on too long, but the refs are qualified. The refs are there to do their job to keep you safe. And of course, if you're on the receiving end of an early stoppage, in your opinion, the ref can't feel for you.
No.
He can only see. And if you're on your back, barely covering up, taking a pounding, you need to be taken out of there.
Fighter safety is paramount. Obviously, this sport has had a lot of attention in recent years. It's grown, obviously, in recent years. People have become fans of the sport, and they understand it more. It's not just two guys in there or two girls in there, beating the hell out of each other. It is it is a martial art versus another martial art, hence the term MMA. You know, you've got a grappler versus striker, etc., or striker versus striker. When it goes to the floor and someone's not intelligently defending themselves, the ref will jump in, but they will always give you those warnings. But yeah, like I say, you want to sort of live to fight another day. The worst thing can happen is a fight goes on too long, you get a severe injury or something, and then, you know, you have to end your career, you know, or you can't fight, carry on, or you get a nasty injury at all. But the pros tend to allow that a bit more time on the floor. The amateurs do get told, like normally on a fight day, there's a rules meeting.
Okay.
Have the amateur rules, the pro rules, and we're always told, you know, you have to intelligently defend yourself. The refs will give you warnings. So, no, I mean, they've got just as hard a job really.
Sure. And I mean, I found myself in my own experience, I've done a little bit of striking over the years, and even Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and it's very much, it's a very grounding sport, and it forces you to stare yourself in the mirror, because you have to humble yourself, because if you go in there and you think, I'm going to beat everyone up, you're going to learn pretty quickly that you're not. Yeah. And there's always someone better than you.
Of course.
And it's great to work with people like that.
Yeah.
I've found the same in the gym ever since I was young and training. I've always trained with more experienced, bigger and better than me, and always trying to chase that.
Yeah.
And that's the best thing in jiu-jitsu, because if you find yourself in a position, it's a very quick, respectful submit. You go again. Yeah. No one's running around the room celebrating, making you feel silly. They've just moved in a way that you haven't moved, got the upper hand, and that's it, and we go again, and maybe you're going to get one in a minute. Yeah. And that's the idea. And sometimes fights balance on that line. Yeah. Someone just gets the better of you. But as you say, if someone's got you in an arm bar and you're not getting out, and the option is tap or, you know, have your elbow separated and be out for 8 months. Yeah. For me, I'm not a fighter. That's an obvious.
Tap. The smart thing
you're going
is
to tap.
you
You can fight in 6 weeks' time.
Exactly.
Get another paycheck. Yeah. That being the idea. I mean, respect to people with the never say die attitude, and I'd rather break it than tap. Okay, probably not the best career advice. No. Fair play to your spirit and to your will and determination, but
even if you've trained super hard for the fight, you need to just realise that the career span of a fighter is not that long.
Sure.
And you want to make it, the sort of longevity of it, you want to make it as long as possible. And it is about avoiding those kind of injuries, you know, having your shoulder separated or dislocating something. It's not, it's not nice.
And it is very much a sport where you could argue it takes a lifetime to become an overnight success.
Yeah,
you know, let's take Conor McGregor, because almost everyone will know that name. And he only come onto the scene in the last maybe 5, 6, 7 years, when he was just a small up-and-coming fighter in Ireland.
Yeah, and he's given everything to it, you know, pretty much came from nothing to probably the biggest name in the sport today. Sure. So,
and you don't just rock up and do that. No. There's no luck involved. No. That man is clearly, regardless of your thoughts towards him, his work rate is to be respected. Yeah. He's no joke.
Yeah. I think he's matured as a fighter as well. I think even the whole build-up to the last fight, and even after the fight, he's a lot more humble, a lot more respectful. And I think maybe the sort of issues that he had after the Khabib fight maybe made him realise, you know, look what I've got. I can't lose that. And he obviously got that hunger for fighting. So, I'm looking forward to see who his next fight is.
Sure. So being down, you know, in your early stage of your pro career, to reference Conor McGregor for the last time, he talks about preparing for a body, a body type. Yeah. No specific opponent, no specific name. Yeah. How do you feel about that? Because I'd imagine you experience maybe a lot more chopping and changing late on.
Yeah, I think it happens a lot more. I'd say a lot more outside of the big organisations such as the UFC, Bellator, and all the other big world organisations. ONE FC, for example, which is huge at the moment. There is a lot more chopping and changing last minute. Fighters get injured in fight week. Fighters pull out in fight week. Fighters don't make weight. So you get an idea at the start about who your opponent is. For example, my last 2 pro fights, both my opponents have changed last minute, and it sort of does mess with your head slightly, because you're like, gosh, I've prepared for this guy. My game plan is to go in. For example, my last fighter was more of a stand-up guy.
Sure.
I trained specifically my stand-up to have a good stand-up battle with him. And then he pulled out day before the fight. and I got put in against someone that was a very experienced K1 stand-up fighter, which I thought was a lot more dangerous because that's all he knows.
Sure.
So I had to go back to my grappling. So it does play with you. But I think what happens is my coach gets the name. He has a look at them, tells me what we need to work on, and then we go from there, really. I'm not one to... I used to be obsessive with it in my amateur days. I used to like YouTube all the videos, watch their fights over and over again, and I used to doubt myself. And that's one thing that does come with a training camp. One day you wake up feeling really good and fresh, and you don't doubt yourself at all. You feel super confident, and then you have a bad training session, and you're like, oh gosh, I've gone backwards. I'm not ready for this fight. But no, now it's just about, in this stages of my pro career, just fighting who's put in front of me, getting some good wins, and then hopefully, reaching that end goal.
Nice. I think that's quite key as well, because I talk to a lot of people about, let's say, that training side.
Yeah.
When you feel like you've had a good session or a bad session.
Yeah.
And I try and remind people that's very much in their head, in the sense that if you go in one day and you're like, the training plan that day is 5 rounds, 5 minutes, all groundwork. So you're starting on your back, and then you get a tap or something, we'll reset for 5 minutes continuous. That's all we're doing that day. And you come away from that and you go, that was a good day. Felt good, felt strong, got some taps. I've got 25 minutes in the bank. Yeah. Cool. You come in the next week, you do the same workout, but you come away from it and you feel like, that wasn't as good, that wasn't as good, that wasn't as good. But both outcomes are the same. You've still got 25 minutes in the bank.
Still got your rounds in.
It's just the way you feel about it.
Yeah.
So I say that to people a lot when I do a class or a session. You've still done the work.
Yeah.
No matter how you feel about it, I'm in charge of that. I've told you what to do. You have done that. Yeah. You're good.
Yeah.
Doesn't really... It's great to have some self-feedback. I can do better. I want to do better. That's great. Yeah. But the fact remains, that work is now in the bank. Yeah. That amount of work is in the bank. You've done what you need to do. Yeah. Feel about it how you want. Yeah. It all counts.
Yeah. No, I fully agree with that. I mean, training is the time to make mistakes. Training time is the time to make mistakes.
Sure.
But yeah, getting the round time in is paramount. And luckily, I do feel fortunate enough to be training at 2 places where one aspect of the stand-up, so Backstreet Dojo is predominantly a stand-up gym.
Sure.
I train with guys that have got super good stand-up, so I'm always taken out of my comfort zone in sparring. And then at Carlson Gracie, the jiu-jitsu and the wrestling side of it, I'm training with guys that, give me a humbling. And so you come out there knowing that, you're training with guys that are at that level above you. Yeah. You know that when it comes into the MMA world, it's very unlikely you're going to be training with guys of that caliber. Yeah. So, it's good. It's good to be taken out of your comfort zone in training. If you're leaving training every day as sort of a top dog of your club and thinking you're smashing everyone, you're not going to be learning anything at all.
Of course not. So just moving away a little bit from the fight game. This isn't your full-time job.
Not at the moment, no.
You're also a policeman.
I am a policeman in the Metropolitan Police. Yeah, I'm an emergency response team officer. Yeah. So
how long have you been doing that for?
I've been doing that for 5.5 years. So
how do you find it? Do you enjoy it?
It's challenging. It's different every day. People have their views, obviously, on the police. Some people love them. Some people hate them. Some people respect them. Some people have absolutely no respect for them. But I always wanted to do it as a child. I do enjoy it. For me personally, the best part about it is driving around on blue lights. I do enjoy that part of it. But it's different every day. Some days it's like training. Some days you leave there sort of like you've dealt with like some awful jobs, and you leave there like with a bit of a, your head's a bit sort of all over the place. And then some days you leave and it's good. I mean, I always leave there fresh, ready for training, or I go from training to there, and it's not. I mean, it's a balance. I mean, it's a nice thing knowing that in a situation, if I get put in a difficult situation, I've equipped with the skills to like defend myself.
Of course.
With the martial arts background.
Yeah, I'm sure that can help. Yeah.
But yeah, it's good. I work with a good team, etc.
Nice.
But yeah, it's the full-time job at the moment. I have to put in the hours of training after or before. So
sure. I think the police is an easy one to pick on, and I think it's just the small cases when you've got maybe like a speed gun van on a dual carriageway. Yeah. And it seems like they're just collecting points and they're collecting money, and I think that's how people see it. But for me personally, I think it's a very undervalued and under-respected job, and I think that's very, very unfair, because I think you and people like you are out there doing a job that people don't want to do. Yeah. Keeping people safe from things we don't even know about. Yeah. And I think if we knew a little bit more and spoke to a few more and tried to understand, then there would be a lot better response. I think I grew up sort of respecting and almost fearing the police. You shouldn't want to come in contact with that. No. You shouldn't want to be in and around prison, but it's, you know,
I think that's a generation change though now.
It is a generation
change. People
change,
now, like if you look at sort of a lot of the youth culture these days, they, you know, I was the same. I grew up sort of like never wanting having contact with the police. You know, I used to fear them, etc. But now it's almost like a lot of the sort of young kids, they just don't care, and they're obviously, they tarnish everyone with that same brush. You try and talk to them with a bit of respect.
Sure.
You know, you go down to their level and try and sort of have that conversation, and they just don't want to know because it's a status thing really. They think it's cool to sort of not to disrespect and to hate the police.
And at the same time, I'm sure there are generational maybe police officers that maybe just don't give respect off the bat.
Exactly,
People experience that. Of course, it's the same on both sides. But I think above all else, I don't think you can't respect it. No. The job you do, firefighters, nurses, these are jobs that we couldn't have our everyday lives without.
And we see some pretty crazy stuff, you know.
Of course,
we see from one extreme to the other, go into situations, again, you know, stuff you wouldn't even imagine that we have to deal with. But I think what happens is people see the uniform and straight away, perception. Perception. If they like you, they like you. If they don't, they're just going to make that clear. But you know, everyone's a human being at the end of the day. Just if you're going to treat someone with respect, if you want to be treated with respect, then treat someone else with respect.
Sure, and not only that, it's a very underrated and undervalued privilege to leave the house in the morning and come home safe.
Yeah,
and you in your profession above many others is a lot more risky, which you don't need to do. You're paid. It's not like you have a 10 times salary of someone who has very low risk. So it could be argued it's very underpaid. But
we've all got families to go home to at the end of the day, and you know, we're just doing our job at the end of the day.
Well, like I say, I think it's very appreciated.
No, I appreciate that.
So just to round off, I think what I've always said about people that I've met within the fight game, mixed martial arts, I think there could be an assumption that because it appears as such a violent sport and violent act, you have an idea of how the people within the sport will be. And when I went to Nostos MMA in the States, I found this when I've just met you, Joe and Tony down at the Backstreet Dojo. What I've actually found is the humility is off the charts, and you're so calm. You know, you're an absolute savage, I can tell, but you're a person. It's controlled. It's not. You're not an animal.
No, it's a controlled. It's that controlled aggression, and I think the ones that walk around, you know,
giving it loud mouth.
We'll use that term. I'm a cage fighter. That term to me is just, you know, whenever someone says, "Oh, you do cage fighting," I'm like, "No, I'm a mixed martial artist." I just don't like that term. And it is about sort of having that sort of self-respect. It's all about sort of discipline, you know, respect for others, that whole mindset, and that whole the old school sort of martial arts mindset as well. But the ones that talk about it and walk around acting like that sort of, you know, every other person wants to be a cage fighter, you know, the guys,
until they do a bit of training,
and they've never had a fight before, and they've never come to a sparring session, or they've never been to a session. It is just about sort of, you know, you're representing the sport at the end of the day. It's about presenting yourself in that way. And you want to get sort of like, say, kids involved from a young age. You've got to show that kind of, you know, you've got to present yourself. It's not about being that aggressive person outside of the cage. You've got to learn to switch that on when you step into the cage. But then at the end of it, you shake hands with your opponent. You know, you become friends afterwards.
I'm not sure there's many better things to get kids involved with.
I think it's
martial
great.
Arts, any martial arts, wrestling, boxing, kickboxing, judo, jiu-jitsu, all of which will teach them respect. And again, controlled aggression. I mean, as you're growing up, testosterone hormones.
Yeah, exactly.
To be able to put that into a controlled arena and not take it around. Because otherwise it comes out of school. We talk about bullying a lot. You know, it's almost like a human trait, that aggression, and it has to come out, especially amongst boys, for example. So I actually think the more involved we can bring martial arts to the youth, to the younger generation, the better sort of place the world
one thing
will
I'd
be.
like to mention to Backstreet Dojo is we obviously moved premises just under a year ago, back in July, and Tony actually took over the whole youth centre and gave the youth, because the youth centre shut down in where it was, and he's basically given the youth centre back to the community, so they've got that.
He has.
And we've got a lot of kids coming up to the dojo now, and obviously they're doing really well. Some of them won some titles on the weekend.
Joe
you know,
told me that,
some amateur kickboxing
Some
tournaments. So
European
it's
titles.
great. You know, got the youth involved, so it's
No,
really
that's
good.
wicked.
A lot of respect.
Yeah.
For that.
Shout out to Tony and Joe over
Yeah.
there at the Backstreet Dojo. I want to thank you for coming on.
No, appreciate
It's
that.
very much appreciated. All the best with the fight.
No, appreciate that.
I'm sure you'll bring home the W, and I'll be excited to see where you go from here.
No, I appreciate that. I'm looking forward to seeing what the future holds, really. I've got a goal this year of at least another 4 professional fights. I'd really like to get onto a big promotion at some point, so I've just got it's about getting those wins. If you don't mind, can I just do some quick shout outs? Is that
Do it,
alright?
my man.
Obviously, shout out to you for having me on this podcast.
Appreciate
I
it.
really appreciate
No
that.
problem.
Never done one of these before. Absolutely loved it. Shout out obviously to Tony, Backstreet Dojo, Joe Hughes, Backstreet Dojo, Simon Hayes, Carlson Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, Freddie Vosgrove and Thomas Magditis, Carlson Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. One of my best friends and my nutritional coach, Matt Hodges, the MPH Method, my wife, Nikki, second part of Team Kurdi, and obviously all the sort of training partners, etc., that come and support me and show me that sort of support on a daily basis.
Cool.
So, appreciate that.
All right, guys. Anything you want to ask Iss or me, comment on the Instagram. You can DM me. You can follow Iss.
Iss Kurdi MMA.
Cool. And yeah, guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Catch this on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. And I'll catch you down the road.